Guys, okay, welcome to my first ever A Novice review. This is different from my other movie reviews because I'm gonna be reviewing something that's like considered a classic in a certain genre, like action, thriller, maybe horror. You never know. I'm scared to dip in. I won't lie. I might do a training foot video on that. But the gist of these kind of videos is that it's not just going to be in any movie or TV review. I'm going to be reviewing something that is considered like legendary for a certain genre or based going way back to a certain time, the 80s, maybe 70s. You never know. I'm reviewing, guys. Enter the Dragon. This movie is a comic book. For people who don't know, you lived under a cliff or under a rock. Enter the Dragon is one of those famous Bruce Lee movies, right? There's Fists of what is it? Fists of Fury, Game of Death, like certain Bruce Lee movies that everyone just knows about. And this is the one, Enter the Dragon, starring himself, Bruce Lee as a guy called Lee, uh, John Saxon, Billy. There's a guy called Han too. He's the villain, and there's a guy called Williams, played by Jim Kelly, who was one of my favorite characters. I liked him. He had swag. Um, but yeah, the gist of this movie, like I said, watching this, it felt like a comic book. And when I say a comic book, let me clarify. That's a good thing. I love that there was the if you've seen some of my other reviews, you know I love a movie that embraces having mini bosses and a boss. The mini bosses still have to be epic. So because they're fighting in a tournament, I don't care about spoilers, by the way. Maybe I'll try and avoid any explicit stuff, um, so you guys can watch it if you haven't. But I don't care about spoiling. Yeah, they have certain people in this movie fight Bruce Lee and the other two characters I was talking about, Billy and Williams. And when they fight them, there's some people who are just above average. There was this big dude that they fought. He was that guy. He seemed like a solid. Everyone felt like they were made by some comic book character. That's what I loved about this movie. And I remember watching the start of it and everything they were saying like, oh, you must. I can see you've ascended. Now you don't just fight with your body; you fight with your mind. You've ascended to the spiritual. And I'm just looking at this like, you know what? Most people would probably laugh at this movie, especially if they're used to like modern day sensibilities. But not me, man. I like this, which has got me worried because if there's other movies I watch, whether it's Bruce Lee movies, other old school like kung fu or other action movies, other genre movies from back in the day, am I gonna find it hokey? Because I didn't find this hokey, and I get the feeling like if you're not into a certain kind, one of my maybe my favorite martial arts movie of all time is a movie called Kung Fu Hustle. I love that movie. Stephen Chow, I believe his name is, directed and stars in that movie. And there are some cartoonishly over the top scenes. There's a scene where, like an episode of Scooby Doo, I think it's the main character. Yeah, the main character is running from a woman in like this block where they live, like running out on the outskirts of town. And the way she's running, the visual effects looks like something from Scooby Doo, where the legs look like a woman. So it's not that over the top. Enter the Dragon is not. Is a lot more serious. But I don't know what it is about this movie. I still felt the stakes when it started again. They came straight to. You could tell Bruce Lee's character was a serious guy, and that he wasn't just. He was about more than just the average motivation for a fighter. Everyone else in this movie had their own mentality that was cool. Williams, played by Jim Kelly, who I love, was cool. What's his name? Billy, played by John Saxon, he was cool. Han liked him too. Everyone just felt, I don't know what it is about this movie. This movie felt good watching it, man. It was like, yeah, it's like a comic book. That's the best way. I don't know how to be more specific than that. But I'll go into like certain scenes that caught my eye. Okay, so anytime Bruce Lee was talking to his master, so I mentioned before as an early example, when he's talking to his master, then he starts talking like metaphors and like so what some will say stereotypical kind of kung fu talk. Oh, how do you fight? I fight by not fighting at all. How do you do this? I breathe, but I don't breathe. I'm just watching. I'm like, yep, yep, yep. I like it all. I don't know what to say about this movie. I'm trying to think of a flaw. Yeah, but there are other scenes. There's even a scene where, shout out by the way to the third act with those mirrors. I knew, I knew by the way, because I'm a John Wick fan. I have issues with John Wick. I think it's overrated more than people think. But I knew that the famous third act of John Wick 2 was inspired by the Enter the Dragon scene. But Enter the Dragon was just one of those movies, a bit like Star Wars up until a certain age, that I knew the references. I knew some references, but I'd never seen. Like the reference, you have offended my family and you have offended the Shaolin Temple. I knew that reference. I didn't know it was from this movie. Um, okay, let me get into another character that I really liked, apart from Bruce Lee's character, Williams. I said already, played by Jim Kelly. He was that smooth operator. He was. As soon as they introduce him, you just see the way he stands. He has like a stance where he's a, yeah, this looks like he's posing for something. Do you know? He's just one of those brothers, and I like that. Yeah, and I like that when they got to the island, he wasn't like standoffish. They had a scene where um, girls are offered to him, to John Saxon's character Billy, and to Bruce Lee's character, and he doesn't seem standoffish at all. Neither does the other guy too. Um, but it says a lot about him. That you know what, I just want to get straight to it. They even have a quote about him that, you know what, I like your fighting style. You care about the combat, not necessarily the art. But it wasn't saying that like as an insult. It was just reminding you, I have to get shit done. I like a dude like that. I like his swagger. Yeah, that's all I can say. Which maybe that's a bit of a flaw this movie. That I hate that he went down because he seems too good. But I understand why. Like he went down. This is the irony of a movie like this compared to action movies of the modern day. Action movies of the modern day, we always wonder, how does someone who's here get beat by someone who's here or even here? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they stretch logic. It's plot armor with these type of characters. But this time, got taken out by the big guy, the villain, Han. Again, Han. I was just looking at his face. I was just this again with the comic, feeling like I'm watching a comic book, not a comic book movie, a comic book. And they broke. Deadpool wrote this. They even have a line where someone says, "Man, you are straight out of a comic book." Facts, standard. He is that villain. He has a claw, and he was robbing a cat, a white cat. I love this movie. Um, Guys, if you're like me, and you don't mind, and to me, I didn't see it as over the top. I know it is technically, but I didn't see it. I saw a method to the madness, if you will. If you're someone who's a fan of a movie like a Kung Fu Hustle, you're gonna like this movie. If you're someone who's a fan of there's a term for it. There's a term for it. I forget the certain term for this specific type of martial art movie in terms of like the not being afraid to be a bit over the top, rambunctious. Like they had the sounds of, you know what I mean. None of that bothers me. Watch this movie. I loved it. I loved this movie. Oh, this made me feel good. Guys, I definitely recommend you watch this. Give it a go. Um, it's a thumbs up for me from this movie. Um, and if you have seen this before, tell me what do you think of Enter the Dragon? Is it like your all-time greats for you, or has other movies surpassed it, or do you think this movie's overrated as far as Bruce Lee is concerned? That there's better Bruce Lee movies, or do you think it's just overrated in general, like back then and now? Either way, just let me know in the comments below. Um, Signing off. Laters, guys.